100 Days of Gratitude, day 47, and today I'm grateful for rhythms and cycles. And what got me thinking about this was, of course, today it is officially the equinox, where we are going to be shifting into longer days. Equinox being, equal length of day and night, and this kind of tipping point into longer days and shorter nights. And got thinking about rhythms, cycles, and how humans, it's what the universe is. It's who we are, and there are so many, like on a scale of rhythms and cycles, like everything is within our bodies, outside in the natural world, and it's really about attuning to them and the kind of the result, the frequency that we tap into of these cycles, and focusing on natural cycles. I remember years ago, I in music school actually learned about this concept, this idea of the kind of the interrelated and connectedness of natural cycles to the notes on a piano, to the colors of the rainbow, all the way up and down. And kind of what it was proposing is, we have, again, everything in nature is cyclical, and we can have these super long kind of macro cycles, and you could literally take it as far as your imagination. Some of these cycles we're not even aware of, right? They're too long, they're too far, they're too outside of the scope of our life cycle, which on average, for most people, 410, right? Although interestingly, in nature, they often say that the average a life cycle is 10 times the length it takes to come to maturity. And humans, is it arbitrary? 18 as maturity, nature versus nurture, we're obviously off on that type of scale. So, is 18 the true measure of maturity? Quote unquote, becoming an adult. Every species has that length of time of kind of infant to young to adolescent, adult. You're now a part of the community. And then typically on average, it's lifespan is 10 times that length. So that would put us, by those metrics, 180 to 210. So something's off. Either we are, facilitating too lengthy of a process, which, I don't know, I'm not here to say yes or no or judge, or the whole theory is off. Maybe we're just off. I don't know. Or maybe it is. I certainly don't think we're mature at 7 or 8. So, I think there is more potential to human lifespan. But anyways, another topic for another time. The idea of cycles. So our human life cycle, of course, right now, 70, 80 years. But what is beyond that? People have mapped out, there's Neil Howe in that book in the Fourth Turning, like within the kind of US history, noting that there are these cycles of kind of the social political structure and this kind of upheaval and breakdown and a reforming, and it goes through these cycles. Fungi, all different types of cycles within the kingdom of fungi. There are in fact some that their fruiting and sporing cycle is multi-decades, and I'm sure there are some species that we just don't live long enough to be able to observe that full cycle. We have no idea about the mycelium in the ground and its kind of life cycle. There's some that are really obvious to observe and map. They follow, the solar cycle in terms of, annual, and a lot of things do, of course, right? The seasons, the moon and the months and its cycle, the day and the night. We've even broken that down into hours, minutes, seconds, which are more of an arbitrary kind of way to, break it down, measure it, shall we say. But there are, even within that, natural cycles of time and as it relates. So here's the point that I was going with in terms of music school and, observing cycles, right? So this is kind of from the macro to the micro, bringing it, stretching it all the way out, all the way back down. So you can correlate, larger macro cycles like, the movement of the sun or the planets, these things that take really long time to, revolve. And as we begin to speed that up, there are frequencies that are on kind of the same harmonic, that it's just, a scale above, that they're on the same frequency. And so the example given was notes on a piano, right? 440 hertz. The notes of the piano connect to the colors of the rainbow. They're just a different frequency. So slowing a cycle down, right, these big long revolutions, as that speeds up, it can become boom, boom, audible, right? We can begin to see and observe that, and then as that speeds up, tick, 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 even more, right? At some point, we no longer are able to perceive, the space or measure in between, at least to our ear. We can do it with measurements, right? 440 hertz, there is space between those pulses, right? That rhythm, but we hear it as sound. So at some point, going from boom, 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 right? As it gets faster and faster, closer and closer, it begins in our perception to, turn into a note. And then as you increase that, right, that frequency, right, it goes higher, higher, changing the notes to the point where you no longer hear it and then you see it. And that was the connection between the scales and notes in a scale and the rainbow. So certain colors correlate back to their notes. They're on the same, octave, shall we say. It's a higher octave. It's just increased its frequency, but there's a correlation there. And then even beyond light, once that increases, right, you can continue to go up the scale into things like rays, gamma rays, and so on and so forth. So rhythms, it's everywhere. It's deeply intertwined into nature on all levels. Again, there are those slow rhythms and cycles all the way to the fast ones that we can't even perceive. And it's embedded into us. And it's wonderful to be able to observe and attune oneself to these rhythms, these cycles, and become part of the music, the color of life, and be in tune and be in harmony with these cycles. So that's what I'm grateful for. That's why I, try to consciously honor, acknowledge, be in rhythm, be in flow with all these cycles, because it's about an alignment, from those kind of larger macro ones that we can move and shift with to the higher ones that we connect to on a different level. So 100 Days Gratitude, day 47.